What's going on, crypto warriors? I just spent 3 weeks diving into classified institutional documents, regulatory filings, and insider reports that completely shattered everything I thought I knew about XRP's role in global finance. And folks, what I discovered will fundamentally change how you view not just XRP, but the entire future of money itself. While retail investors argue about whether XRP will hit $1, there's a $1.3 trillion parallel financial universe operating behind closed doors that most people have absolutely no clue exists. I'm talking about institutional infrastructure so advanced, so widespread, and so revolutionary that it makes traditional banking look like Stone Age technology. The phone call that changed everything. Let me start with a story that's going to blow your mind. Picture this. Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple's CEO, is celebrating what he thinks is the biggest victory in the company's history. They've just successfully launched their revolutionary payment product with one of the largest banks in the Middle East. The technology is performing flawlessly. Transactions settling in seconds instead of days, costs reduced by 90%, everything working exactly as designed. Then his phone rings. The voice on the other end is panicked, almost angry. Wait a minute, people can see my transactions. I absolutely do not want people seeing my financial flows. This wasn't just any complaint. This was a moment of institutional awakening that would birth an entirely separate financial infrastructure. Think about this for a second. Would JP Morgan Chase be thrilled if every wire transfer, every treasury management operation, every cross-border settlement appeared on a public blockchain for their competitors to analyze? Would the Federal Reserve want every monetary policy decision visible in real time to foreign governments? The answer is a resounding hell no. That single phone call birthed what we now know as XRP private ledgers, institutional-grade distributed ledger technology operating with complete privacy from public scrutiny while maintaining all the revolutionary benefits of blockchain infrastructure. The multi-trillion-dollar secret network. Here's where the story takes an absolutely mind-blowing turn. XRP private ledgers aren't just pilot programs anymore. This is live, production-grade infrastructure handling real institutional money at scale. We're talking about closed blockchain environments engineered specifically for central banks, governments, and financial institutions requiring regulatory compliance frameworks that public networks simply cannot provide. Let me hit you with some numbers that will make your head spin. The Royal Monetary Authority of Bhutan launched the first major XRPL-based central bank digital currency pilot in 2021. Their objective? Achieving 85% financial inclusion while integrating cross-currency settlement efficiency mechanisms that reduced transaction costs by over 40% compared to traditional correspondent banking. But Bhutan was just the beginning. Industry sources confirmed the Bank of France quietly conducted euro-based CBDC trials on Ripple's private infrastructure throughout 2024 and 2025. These tests achieved over 1,500 transactions per second, dramatically exceeding Ethereum 2.0 benchmarks while maintaining the privacy controls essential for sovereign digital currency operations. The Republic of Palau launched a phased stablecoin program in mid-2023, issuing USD-backed tokens on a private XRPL ledger to 200 government employees. Phase 1 demonstrated 98% transaction success rates with sub-5-second finality. Following positive results, their Phase 2A report outlined complete technological frameworks for national-scale digital currency distribution, a blueprint other nations are rapidly adopting. The global institutional takeover you never saw coming. Now pay attention because this is where the scope becomes absolutely staggering. Central bank pilot programs across 5 continents are simultaneously building interconnected private networks using identical XRP ledger technology. In June 2025, Ripple CEO disclosed 5 new central bank engagements: Bhutan, Colombia, Japan, an undisclosed Southeast Asian government, and a 5th partner under non-disclosure agreements. Japan's participation represents Tokyo's ambitions for a digital yen prototype, potentially leveraging XRPL's dual ledger model to connect domestic CBDC trials with broader cross-border settlement schemes. Industry insiders report these partnerships prioritize interoperability among CBDCs, offline transaction capabilities, and regulatory compliance modules that make traditional banking infrastructure look primitive. Major global institutions including Citi, BNP Paribas, Standard Chartered, Société Générale, and BBVA Switzerland have deployed private XRP instances for asset custody experiments and controlled payment ecosystems. These aren't pilot programs. This is live production infrastructure handling billions in institutional flows. According to blockchain analytics data, the public XRPL processed over 5.1 million transactions in a single 24-hour period on June 15, 2025. But here's the kicker. This doesn't even include the private ledger activity that's completely hidden from public view. We're witnessing the systematic replacement of correspondent banking infrastructure with real-time settlement networks that eliminate friction that has existed in international finance for centuries.
And you guys, I have a special trick for you, which nobody seems to be using, and I cannot wrap my head around why. Because if you sign up through my link down in the description onto the BTCC exchange, you get a 10% deposit bonus. And now stay with me here. Now, here comes the important part. If you have any trading capital on any other exchange and you move it to your newly created BTCC account, you get on top of your capital you moved another 10% extra trading capital. As an example, if you move or deposit 10K to your account, you get 1K for free. And here is why this is possible. BTCC makes money on trading fees. The more capital you have, the more you trade. The more you trade, the more they earn. So they are literally investing in your trading activity by giving you extra capital up front. And unlike other platforms where bonuses are in the 1 to 3% range, BTCC's bonus is a full 10%. I'm not kidding. I really don't understand why nobody is doing this. To me, it really seems like people sometimes are too lazy or just don't like free money. I kindly ask you to pause this video and take your time to make an account. You can thank me later in the description of this video.
The numbers that will shock you. Let me break down some data that most analysts completely miss. Over 300 financial institutions across more than 40 countries now use Ripple's technology stack for cross-border remittances, net settlement, and liquidity management. Ripple's on-demand liquidity service processed over $1.3 trillion in Q2 2025 alone, a tenfold increase from the previous year. But these public numbers don't tell the whole story. By mid-2025, active addresses on the public XRPL exceeded 29,000, with over 10,000 individual traders. Daily on-chain data revealed thousands of high-value transfers, over 3,300 transactions of at least 10,000 XRP, approximately $28,000 each, and more than 800 transactions exceeding 100,000 XRP, $280,000 each, in a single day in early September 2025. That's over $200 million in large-value institutional flows in just one day. The tokenized asset market on XRPL experienced explosive growth, with values surging from $5 million in January 2025 to over $118 million by July, representing a 2,260% increase in 6 months. Major financial institutions, including Ondo, Guggenheim, and Control Alt Del, launched tokenized products on the platform, validating its credibility in the $50 trillion global asset market. Here's what really blew my mind. Cross-border payment corridors using private XRPL ledgers demonstrated remarkable throughput in live testing. Regional banks in Southeast Asia achieved end-to-end transaction volumes exceeding 100,000 payments per hour over live networks without degradation. ODL corridors processed hundreds of millions of dollars per month in settlement volume, reducing average payment costs by up to 40% compared to traditional correspondent banking. The technical revolution nobody talks about. The energy efficiency metrics alone should make Bitcoin maximalists reconsider their entire worldview. While Bitcoin consumes roughly 130 terawatt-hours annually, the XRPL ledger's consensus mechanism operates on less than 0.01 terawatt-hours. That's over 57,000 times more efficient. For institutions bound by environmental, social, and governance mandates, this represents a massive competitive advantage in sustainable finance initiatives. Private XRPL networks can routinely handle peak loads of over 50,000 transactions per second while maintaining end-to-end settlement finality in under 5 seconds. That's not a typo, 50,000 transactions per second. Compare that to Ethereum's historic struggles at 15 TPS or Bitcoin's 7 TPS limit, and you begin to understand why institutions are quietly migrating to this infrastructure. Transaction costs are negligible. A typical payment consumes just 0.00001 XRP, equivalent to roughly $0.0002, regardless of whether it's a $10 micropayment or a $10 million wholesale transfer. This built-in cost efficiency eliminates the exponential fee structures that plague other blockchain networks during periods of high demand. But here's the part that gets really interesting: the interoperability features. Private ledgers can connect to the public XRPL ledger when needed, enabling seamless value transfer between CBDCs and existing financial infrastructure. This bridging capability ensures institutions don't need to completely replace existing systems, but can gradually integrate blockchain benefits while maintaining operational continuity. The regulatory breakthrough that changes everything. The regulatory landscape shifted dramatically following Ripple's landmark settlement with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission in July 2024, which established that XRP is not a security under U.S. law. This resolution removed the final barrier to institutional adoption, triggering massive capital inflows from previously restricted investment vehicles. Following this clarity, several major custodians announced plans to offer XRP custody services, and discussions began for potential inclusion of XRP-based products in regulated investment vehicles. At least 11 prospective XRP ETF applications were filed in 2025, with analysts forecasting these could attract $8 billion in capital inflows. The Dubai International Financial Center approved XRP for use within the center in November 2023, allowing licensed virtual asset firms to incorporate XRP into their services. Regulatory sandboxes in Singapore, Switzerland, and the UAE included XRPL-based pilots, with frameworks expressly accommodating tokenization of financial instruments and cross-border remittance corridors. The arbitrage opportunities you're missing. Here's something that's going to make active traders sit up straight. The XRPL's built-in decentralized exchange and automated market makers create unprecedented arbitrage opportunities as institutional-grade tokenized assets move between trusted counterparties on private systems and require settlement through public liquidity pools. When price discrepancies emerge that sophisticated traders can exploit. The XLS36 AMM feature introduced in 2025 enhanced liquidity provision mechanisms on the XRPL, with each automated market maker pool creation requiring a 2 XRP burn fee. Daily DEX trading volumes surged from $50 million in early 2024 to over $200 million by July 2025, reflecting both retail and institutional activity. These pools attracted over $250 million in locked liquidity by mid-2025, spanning pairs such as XRP USDC, Euro-backed XRPL tokens, and government bonds. Liquidity providers earn 0.25% fees on each trade, with half of those fees burned to reduce total supply, creating a deflationary mechanism that most investors completely overlook. The pricing paradox that could change everything. David Schwartz, Ripple's chief technology officer, articulated a compelling economic argument that most people misunderstand. His famous assertion that XRP cannot be dirt cheap for large-scale institutional use isn't about arbitrary price targets, it's about liquidity efficiency and market impact. Here's the mathematical reality. A $1 million payment always requires $1 million worth of XRP, whether that's one token priced at $1 million or 1 million tokens priced at $1 each. But the critical insight lies in market impact. Higher-priced assets require fewer units to transfer large values, which reduces order book impact and transaction costs. Current data reveals that BTC and ETH order books on major exchanges typically surpass XRPs by a factor of 3 to 5, contributing to their price resilience when handling large trades. XRP's more limited depth makes it susceptible to slippage during high-volume flows, a legitimate concern for banks contemplating million-dollar settlements.
The network effect, creating exponential value. Here's the strategic insight most analysts completely miss. Every new private ledger participant exponentially increases the value of shared public infrastructure through compound network effects. As more institutions deploy private networks for specific use cases, demand for the common settlement layer, the public XRPL, grows exponentially. Each new institutional participant on a private chain increases demand for XRP liquidity on the mainnet. This creates a positive feedback loop. Greater institutional adoption on private chains spurs greater public liquidity, which lowers transaction costs and attracts further private participants. Financial analysts estimate that by 2027, up to 30% of global cross-border payment volume could transit hybrid private-public networks, representing trillions of dollars in on-chain value flow. If XRP captures just 14% of SWIFT's annual transaction volume, the corresponding payment flow through XRP could exceed $20 trillion, requiring market capitalizations several orders of magnitude above current levels. The supply dynamics nobody understands. Every transaction on the XRPL burns a small fee, typically 0.00001 XRP per operation. Between January and June 2025, the ledger processed over 500 million transactions, burning approximately 5,000 XRP in fees during that period. While this might seem insignificant, the cumulative effect over time, combined with growing institutional adoption, creates gradually deflationary pressure. David Schwartz confirmed that even at Visa-level transaction volumes, the burn rate would only eliminate about 0.0075% of XRP's total supply annually. To burn just 10% of total supply would require over a quadrillion transactions, reinforcing that XRP scarcity emerges from demand-driven liquidity pressures rather than rapid supply depletion. Reserve requirements also impact supply dynamics. Each account must hold a minimum balance of 10 XRP, plus an additional 2 XRP for each trust line established. With over 2 million active accounts by mid-2025, reserve requirements collectively tie up more than 25 million XRP, roughly 2.5% of total supply. The future architecture of global finance. Cross-chain interoperability initiatives aim to connect private XRPL networks with Ethereum-based DeFi protocols through regulated custodial bridges. Tokenized CBDCs issued on XRPL could, under strict compliance guardrails, be swapped for tokenized commercial paper on alternative ledgers or used as collateral in smart contract-based lending pools. The upcoming XLS 50 amendment will introduce zero-knowledge proofs for confidential transactions, enabling institutions to hide transaction details from public view while allowing regulators to audit via selective disclosure. Sharding proposals aim to increase capacity to 10,000 transactions per second, ensuring the ledger can handle anticipated surges in CBDC and tokenized asset volume. Recent developments include integration of Chainlink oracles into XRPL smart contract functionality, enabling real-time pricing feeds for traditional assets and adding programmability for sophisticated financial products. This convergence positions XRPL as one of the only blockchains capable of supporting end-to-end institutional financial workflows. What this actually means for your portfolio. The systematic replacement of correspondent banking infrastructure with real-time settlement networks represents the largest shift in financial technology since the invention of electronic banking. Multi-signature account configurations become automatic through programmable settlement logic, reducing operational complexity while improving capital efficiency. Environmental considerations provide additional institutional appeal. Comparative life cycle assessments confirm XRPL's per-transaction carbon footprint at 0.0002 kilograms compared to Bitcoin's 1,000 kilograms per transaction. This differential supports positioning in sustainable finance initiatives, attracting institutional investors bound by ESG mandates. As of mid-2025, XRP's circulating supply stands at approximately 59.5 billion tokens out of a fixed 100 billion issuance. Strategic relocking of unlocked XRP, such as the September 2025 re-escrow of 700 million XRP, contributes to supply discipline while institutional demand ramps up. Your next move in the financial revolution. The institutional revolution is here, and the only question is whether you'll be positioned to benefit from it. While speculative tokens chase narrative-driven pumps, XRP quietly became the settlement infrastructure for the next generation of global finance. Smash that like button if this deep dive into institutional blockchain infrastructure opened your eyes to what's really happening behind the scenes. Subscribe and hit that notification bell because I'll be breaking down more hidden aspects of crypto's institutional adoption that mainstream media completely ignores. Drop a comment letting me know which revelation shocked you most. Was it the trillion-dollar transaction volumes, the 57,000x energy efficiency advantage, or the complete debunking of those wild pricing myths? I read every single comment and love hearing your thoughts on these game-changing developments. Remember, this analysis is for educational purposes only and shouldn't be considered financial advice. Always conduct your own research and consult qualified professionals before making investment decisions. The question isn't whether institutional adoption will drive price appreciation, it's whether retail investors will recognize the opportunity before it becomes obvious to everyone. The future of finance is being built right now, and XRP is at the center of it all.